Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to Australian Immigration News, brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services, the company I founded more than 24 years ago. Now, in addition to these weekly news updates, don't forget to watch our recent special editions on the rights of Australian citizen children who have temporary resident parents. Real change needs to happen soon in the culture of the Immigration Department and how it treats these families. In tonight's edition, we cover: is the DOHA going to be broken up into smaller chunks? The humanitarian program numbers increased. The Business Council of Australia releases a new report on how migration makes us stronger. The Palm Visa scheme strikes more trouble. And the COVID visa, along with the Aged Care Labour Agreement, copping flack once again. But first, let's get to the elephant in the studio. Still no invitation rounds for the 189 visa, but fingers crossed, hopefully by the end of this month. Most states are still waiting for their official allocations to be released, but we expect Canberra will issue another invitation round next week. Don't worry everyone, things will be hotting up soon. There is speculation growing that the supersized Department of Home Affairs may be broken up into more manageable pieces. It is likely that the Department of Immigration perhaps will once again become its own separate entity, given the importance the Labor government has placed on its existence for a growing economy. Perhaps Andrew Giles too will be happy to be his own boss. And speaking of Minister Giles, he released details of an increase to the humanitarian program numbers from 17,875 to 20,000. In a media statement released on Friday, he said the Albanese government reaffirms its commitment to those in need and an increase in our humanitarian program annual intake. With more people displaced worldwide than ever before, the Albanese Labor government is stepping up to play its part in the global resettlement effort in a responsible way. The Business Council of Australia has released a report this week outlining the obvious fact that it is the current migration figures that are keeping our economic growth figures afloat. It reminds everyone that Australia has been built and continues to prosper on the back of migration. In the report called "Migration Makes Us Stronger," it points out that migration should not be the scapegoat for poor planning and the failure to deliver housing supply. New housing growth has been falling as national planning systems have failed to facilitate new supply. It also attacked the myth largely portrayed in the media that current migration numbers at record levels is pushing for a big Australia policy. In the report it says Australia's updated population forecasts are below pre-pandemic forecasts made in 2019. That is, Australia's population is expected to be smaller than previously forecast, irrespective of the current catch-up period of migration. The narrative that there is currently a big Australia policy in play is a myth. The BCA also puts forward many recommendations for the upcoming migration review. The key important proposals are: provide a pathway to permanent residency for all temporary skills shortage visa holders. The length of temporary skills shortage visas should be standardized at 4 years, and the age limit for employer-sponsored permanent migrants should be raised to 55. Student visa rules should be changed to exclude degree-required work experience from the working hours capped and adopt a genuine student test in place of the genuine temporary entry criterion. Temporary graduate visas should be automatically granted to students at universities and government vocational education and training institutions upon successful completion of their studies. It is interesting to note here is they are talking about government vocational training courses such as TAFE and not private institutions. Also, if there were an increase to 55 years of age through the employer-sponsored visas, that would be a huge relief to many currently working in Australia on the sponsored 482 visa. These proposals have a high chance of being announced in the upcoming review release because they are reasonable given our current economic climate, and the BCA is a powerful lobby group. Stay tuned and let's see what happens when the review details are released in the next couple of months. The poor old Palm Visa scheme is again making news, with farmers complaining the changes to the sponsoring agreements are going to make it unworkable. Changes to the guidelines mean workers must receive 30 hours of work per week averaged over 4 weeks, and from July 2024, 30 hours a week every week. It seems to me that giving a farm worker a job for 30 hours a week is not an unreasonable request, but the farmers don't want to pay them if they're not working because of the weather. It seems that these farming groups have had it too good for too long, where they can just use temporary labour when it suits them. It's time to reshape their business models to match the rest of the country. That is, if you need staff, you're going to have to treat them well with job security and pay them properly. The poor old 408 COVID visa is still cupping flack in the media. In an article in the Australian and linked to Sky News program, it says that 66,000 students had their visas extended using the COVID visa, and that is perhaps what is creating a big Australia by stealth.
The Albanese government processed nearly 66,000 COVID visas between March and June, which is more pandemic event visas in its first 10 months than were given when international borders were shut. Well, joining me live is Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan. Welcome to the program. Look, the pandemic is obviously over, so why are these pandemic visas being granted?
It's a very good question, Shari, and I think while you and all your listeners know that the pandemic is over, I wonder whether Anthony Albanese and his government do, because this is quite outstanding that they've issued more COVID visas since the pandemic than what were issued when the border was closed. And I think what it really demonstrates is, once again, Labor has no plan when it comes to immigration. They always make a mess of immigration. And what they want, I think in their heart of hearts, is this big Australia by stealth. And it just seems this is another way that Labor are pursuing their big Australia agenda.
Well, I'm afraid such reporting is not helpful when it's not accurate. The COVID visa is not open to people outside of Australia, so we are not getting bigger by its existence. It is only open to people who have jobs here and are contributing to the limited skills and worker shortages. And most of all, no one is pretending that this visa has any links to COVID-related needs anymore. However, this hasn't stopped the education sector from using its powerful lobby groups to try and have it scrapped, for of course they would prefer people to stay in Australia on student visas and be limited to 48 hours per fortnight. Our office expects the COVID visa will continue to run for the rest of this year, or until at least an alternative temporary skills shortage visa is established. The new aged care labour agreement is still being criticised in the media for placing pressure on staff to join unions. As soon as we saw the agreement needed a union sign-off, we knew this agreement was headed for trouble. The last thing this country needs is a highly complicated agreement being used in a crucial sector that is crying out for workers. And yet it's another example of the ministers Claire O'Neill and Andrew Giles saying they want things to be simplified in the migration visa world, but their actions are doing just the opposite. Why was it even necessary to have the union movement involved at all in establishing a visa pathway? The criticism in the article is well deserved, and we hope we do not see any more union demand-driven visa alternatives. And now it's time for our viewer's comment of the week. Neil Shah, the person who started that 309 visa petition in Canberra, wrote in and said, "Thank you so much, Karl, for including my petition in your YouTube channel. I urge everyone to support by signing and sharing this petition. Thank you so much." You're welcome, Neil, and we're happy to see that the petition number has jumped from 26 to 809 in just a week. Now, everyone out there, there's just 21 days left to sign this, so please go online and support it. And when you're done, share the link to your friends so they can sign it too. Well, despite that there's been no major law changes this week, there always seems a lot to talk about. If you want to be the first to know what is happening in the world of Australian immigration, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. As always, take care out there and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.